Alright guys, so we're going to take on the Inferring help video now. Um, let's check out the rubric. We're going to focus on level 3. So the interpretation supported by stated and implied ideas from the text. The inference was a generally obvious interpretation of the text. So as long as you have an implied and a stated and it's pretty decent, not anything out of this world type interpretation, that's fine. You'll get level 3 or so, and then level 4 is, stated and implied ideas to support interpretation that is beyond the text or incorporate a fair bit of knowledge to create such an inference. If you look at the skill itself on the far left, where it says 1.5, this person is able to develop and explain interpretations of increasingly complex or difficult text using stated and implied ideas from the text to support their interpretations. Now it says, we had that list at the beginning that I gave out is, telling you when you should infer. Yeah, all these places are good times to infer, but let's just be honest. The ones that are basically more common for you to make an inference, or where I would expect you to make an inference, okay? Understand the intonation of characters' words. So if you're reading a character say something in a certain way, and you infer it as differently, make an inference there. Identify the character's beliefs, personalities, and motivations. Understand characters' relationships to one another. If you can sense that two characters like each other, two characters hate each other, but it's not explicitly said, you're doing it by inferring of other behavior. Make an inference. Provide explanations for events or ideas that are presented in the text. Okay, so something that's, always pick something that is not obvious. Something you had to have some prior knowledge or understand the body language of the characters you're reading or something. You just don't want the most obvious thing to be the thing you infer about. Okay, offer details for events or your own explanations of the events presented in the text. So, something as you see it, if you see an event as being different. And recognize the author's biases. If you can sense that if you infer that the author has, seems to be very connected with the character somehow, or seems to really be emotional when describing a certain event, maybe you can state that this author may have gone through something like this. And then lastly, relate what is happening to the text from your own knowledge of the world. So, and then offer conclusions from facts presented in the text. These ones with the arrows are the ones I'm expecting you to probably make an inference about at your age level and development, and with the increasingly complex text that you're reading now. So, what is the setup? How should you get ready? How should you be ready to answer or to write an inference? First of all, be ready to write in full sentences. You can go ahead with the sentence starter and say I infer, but try to just assert it right away. Third point, make sure you use the events of the text, explain in concise and straight to the point detail, and connect it with your own background knowledge. So, how are you making, what is your inference? What in the book is happening for you to make this inference? And why are you making such an inference? Okay? I'll say again. What is the inference you're making? What event is making you think of this inference? And lastly, why is your inference have grounds? Why do you think this is about to happen? Why could your inference actually be plausible? Actually could be possible? The concluding sentence of the inference should state how the marrying of the events of your text and the ideas in your head allow you to make such an inference. So, again, answering why. Okay, here's a quick example. It's the same, we wrote it down, that whole movie theater example. Two people walk up to a window and pay $12. The person on the other side gives back $4. The other one says, I'll pay for popcorn, etc., etc. If you don't know this example, you haven't been taking notes in class, because I know Mr. Tropo was the one who took this example with you, and you should have a memory of it. So, this is an example we did in class at the beginning of the unit. Let's go through some level 2, 3, and 4 examples. The level 2 example. So obviously, this is a situation where two people are on a date. Somebody paid for both of them. For the movie. One person, and they were at a movie theater. They were going to a movie. We inferred that it was a date because someone was paying for both of them. We inferred that the girl, wanted to pay the guy back and said, okay, well, I have popcorn. So they're doing something called going Dutch. When you go Dutch, that's when you go on a date and each person pays for themselves. Yeah, so, You know, there's a lot we could have inferred from here. Let's look at some level 2 and 3 and 4s. So level 2, I infer that they are at the movies because they approach a window. That would be the ticket box office and pay to enter. Yeah, that's a level 2 because it's generally obvious, and also out of the two criteria, you know, having it stated and implied, you only had the stated. Okay, the window being the ticket box office, that's a clearly stated event in the story or in the example. Free to make your inference. Level 3. I infer that they are on a date because often people go on dates to the movies. Also, one person is paying for two individuals. This often happens on dates as well. Okay, it's a level 3, maybe a 3 minus. There are two ideas. Implied is that people often go on dates to the movies, and stated is that one person is paying. It is being married with your own personal opinion at the end because often one person pays on dates. However, this is generally obvious, and it's expected at your age level to know that kind of stuff. Here's the level 4. I infer that the female in the scenario may not feel comfortable with this being a dating situation. It is seen as a norm in dating culture that the male pay on the first date. Often, girls who are interested in the male like this behavior and are appreciative. However, often girls who are possibly not interested feel guilty in accepting this gesture of having everything paid for on the first date. To ease her guilt, perhaps, she is offering to pay for popcorn, therefore not feeling like she is taking advantage of the male. Now, I know that sounds like super crazy complex, but this is the truth. You have to make inferences like this if you want to be considered, you know, higher than the average. You know, a level 3 is not impossible to get. It's a level 4. That's why it's a level 4. It takes a lot more thought. Okay, I said in level 4, forget about the fact that that it's longer than the previous two. The inference is clear. The inference is clearly stated. The ideas are unique and insightful. And there's both stated, so the girl will pay for popcorn, and implied, she may feel uncomfortable. Now, an inference, you know, there's certain language that you have to use in an inference that really goes the extra mile. You can't use very sure language like she is, or she must, or she does. You have to say she may feel this way, she might be this way, perhaps she's feeling this way. Okay, use language that entertains the idea that I'm not 100% sure, but this is my inference, and I don't know. I am assuming, perhaps this is right. Okay, you want to make sure you use proper inferring language if you're really going far-fetched, like I just did in this level 4+ example. Okay, so again, it's not because it's longer. It's good that it's longer, but it's the whole thought process. Okay, so don't be fooled by the previous example, especially by the size. Okay, each of those inferences you saw were like not like 4 or 5 lines. Those are just examples of how you should be thinking, not examples of what your inferences should look like. I repeat, they are not supposed to be that long. They have to be longer than that, longer than my examples. Okay, the previous example is just an idea how you should think, and what stated, implied, generally obvious, and insightful ideas look like. Make sure in your inferences you write in complete sentences. Use evidence from the text, okay? Make quotes and all that stuff, you know, direct lines from the text, not whole paragraphs, but, you know, 1 or 2 quick lines. And make inferences that are longer than a few lines. Okay? And of course, have introductory and concluding sentences. Now, we've really done this a lot in our guided reading groups. I really hope you guys do feel steadily prepared and readily prepared for this. I think you are, but hopefully this video helps you out in whatever capacity you need. Okay? Take care.